All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the business meeting for the City of Prattville. At this time, you're invited to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation. The invocation will be given tonight by Councilor Stritchett. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, this time of gathering, this time of a municipality board and its citizens as we discuss the business of our great community that you have blessed us with. We ask for healing, we ask for understanding, and we ask for each of us to, even though we have our difference of opinion, to come together and to honor you through any of our decisions. Also tonight, Lord, I would ask that each member in this building, each person, each citizen in this building, take just a second to remember my dear friend, Kelly Carter, and her family. As we pray for her, she is just going through the loss of her father and the difficulty of losing a parent. So please keep Kelly and her family in your prayers. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Newman.
Here.
Councilor Jackson. Here. Councilor Chambers. Councilor Merrick.
Here.
Councilor Whaley.
Here.
Councilor Stritchett. Councilor Langley.
Here.
All right, having a quorum present, call this meeting to order. Character trait of the month is alertness, being aware of what is taking place around me so that I can have the right responses. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Those were emailed to you ahead of time. Hope you've had a chance to look at those. They were from the public hearing dated March 3rd, 2026, and the city council meeting dated March 3rd, 2026. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve these minutes. So moved. Moved by Councilor Merrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by raising your right hand. And the minutes are approved unanimously. All right. Do want to point out a few elected officials who are here with us. Our school board, and then also our superintendent of education. Thank you for being here. At this time, we will welcome any comments from persons present regarding tonight's agenda. Anyone who wishes to speak on tonight's agenda, line up in the middle aisle. You'll be called up to print your name and address, and then you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council.
John Lee Finnegan, 211 Deer Trace. I'm going to be speaking on resolution number 4 in the regular agenda, support for the Picker House. I want to give you a little bit of timeline on the Picker House purchase. On 9/7/2021, resolution number 9, to buy the future Spillway Park property from Pratt Mill Properties for $1,050,000, and that was held until the 9/21/21 meeting, and resolution number 3, which was to approve the purchase of that property. On 3/15/2022, the mayor's comments explained that number 15 removes 5 feet south of the Picker House to 40 feet north of the Picker House. This encompasses the entire Picker House. Amended resolution number 15 approved for purchase of property minus the Picker House and some land for $975,000. On 3/24/23, Pratt Mill Properties, LLC, sells Picker House property to HPRA for $25,000, stipulating it is to be used solely as a sit-down dine-in with to-go service. On 7/24, the HPR sells property to Picker House LLC for $275,000, with one of the stipulations being it will be used solely for sit-down dine-in and with to-go service. So the city was taken out of the purchase of the land, and it went from Pratt Mill Properties to HPRA to the Picker House LLC, which is Darren Phillips. Anyway, in the resolution, it says that the Economic Development Department, when necessary, calculates, reviews, recruits, and offers incentives and other assistance to businesses that are interested in locating within the city of Prattville. And so anyway, the last thing says, whereas the city council is presently supportive of the plan for Project Picker House and hereby expresses its intent for a development and cooperation agreement to be prepared for further consideration. My feeling is that the city should not be involved in this at all. They were not involved in the land purchase, in the purchase of the building. Also, when Mr. Phillips bought this property, he knew, as well as many of us, that this was going to cost a hell of a lot of money to make this come to fruition. He said he was going to get investors, and supposedly they have those investors. And it's going to be, as stated, $5,700,000 project. I do not feel that as a city, we should be giving money to restaurants or things of that nature. I can understand Owens Corning, I can understand James Hardy, etc. But to give it to a private restaurant in a situation should not take place. We have enough debt. In fact, I don't know if this is even going to be money. But if it is going to be money, I'm totally against it. We have enough debt as it is. This individual knew. He came into it. How many other restaurants have you done this for, except maybe Waldo's, that might be in 124 West Main, in hopefully the Stripling Center? But I just want to protest this and think that this should not be considered, and I know you're just voting on for the support and it'll come back, but you do not have to support it. This is something that is private, and they've got the individuals that are backing them. If they don't have that, then they shouldn't have made such a grand plan for it. Cut back on the planning of it. You make it a smaller venue or smaller restaurant and use that money, but the city should not be involved in it at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on an item of tonight's agenda? Not seeing any. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report?
Yes, sir. I just want to say happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, and if I might have a point of privilege,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask our guest to come forward, our superintendent, Lyman Woodson. And I'm going to turn completely over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you as always. Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Gillespie, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you all tonight. I do need to pause. Am I on a timer, or do I just, am I good? Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
You're not on a 5-minute timer.
Hey,
but,
if I get going too far, just stop me. But no, seriously, thank you guys for allowing me to come before you tonight. I want to begin by thanking several of you for participating with the Board of Education during a recent work session we had. I'm thankful for that we've been able to work so closely together over the last 2.5 years. And regardless of how this turns out with the CAC that I'm about to talk about, I believe the path forward is to do like we've been doing. We have to work closely together and partner to help our city and our county move forward. So I come before you tonight to simply ask for some direction on where we need to move forward as a school system and as a community. I've seen several comments about the current model we have is not sustainable. I may surprise you when I say I completely agree with the statement. As you know, we studied a hybrid system a while back, and we ran into a lot of roadblocks, but there's a reason we were looking at it, because we all agreed that the current model needed to be adjusted. We have been pursuing changes to state rules that govern us, and we have been seeking other legislative changes as well. We're doing all we can to work within the confines that we currently have. Simply put, we're at a crossroads as a school system, and we need to know what direction we need to move in. The Talk County Board of Education has made many changes since my appointment and since the board's come on. We have stabilized our finances, we have prioritized student and giving our teachers and students what they need to excel. We have expanded career tech opportunities. We've improved supplements. We've renovated facilities. We've overhauled many of our processes and procedures. Now, I'll be the first to admit, we still have work to do. We still have things to fix and clean up. But again, I think we've done a lot in the short time we've been here. We've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. Several of you have reached out over the last several months wanting to know how the council can help us financially. I think I probably surprised some of you when I said, hey, as far as day-to-day operations, we're okay. You know, I'm not asking you for money, any additional money for day-to-day operations. Our biggest need is facilities. We've talked about that a lot. You know, I just left the commission and they pointed out we've had to talk 3 or 4 times. So we've had this talk many times. But I do believe for people to really see the impact of the financial contribution, it needs to be something they can see. It needs to be something they can experience. It needs to be something they can take a part of. And again, we've fixed a lot of the things we need to fix financially day to day. That brings me to the CAC partnership. The partnership with CAC to build a new high school serves several purposes. I've spoken with you all at length about the benefit I believe this project will have on our area. These benefits are as follows. As far as workforce development, the school will have a pathway dedicated to each possible option for life after school. First, the military preparedness wing would include a training facility to train future cadets and contain classes such as cybersecurity, computer science, ROTC, and others that the military is focusing on today. Additionally, we would explore the idea of an international baccalaureate program that many of our military and regular families desire. Second, we would be able to significantly increase the number of workforce development classes students could take because we would utilize the new the new Center for Excellence that CAC is building now, along with our current Autauga County Technology Center. Students would have more opportunities to learn skills they would utilize in the workforce and in life. Lastly, dual enrollment opportunities would be significantly increased due to scheduling issues being limited. It is true that dual enrollment is an option for our students now. However, scheduling limitations due to class and instructor availability significantly limit the amount of flexibility in student schedules. By sharing facilities and teachers, we remove these barriers. This plan allows our very own teachers to be able to teach college classes and classes they normally teach now at the same time. Long-term facility development and alignment. Guys, Prattville schools are dated, and I would describe them as tired. That's the word I came up with today. Prattville Primary School was built in 1927. Prattville Junior High was built in 1960. Prattville Intermediate was built in 1961. Prattville Elementary was built in 1966. And the front portion of Prattville High School was built in 1977. A new high school would allow the current high school to be used for grades 5 through 8 or 6 through 8. This would allow for a total reconfiguration of the central zone feeder pattern. It is conceivable that we could get down to 3, maybe 4 campuses under this plan. This would open up partnership opportunities. As we open up buildings we don't need, there will be an opportunity for the city or commission to use the facilities. With the new high school, the city could use the athletic venues to host really large tournaments with the improvements y'all have made in Parks and Rec. We could be a partner to expand that. A new auditorium or other large gathering places could be somewhere that our community, you guys could use, our citizens, it could be something that we could all utilize. The options are limitless in how we can work together as we realign the system. Economic development, industry recruitment, and retention obviously would be improved. Placing the new school within the Autauga County portion of Prattville would stimulate economic development where we need it the most. The excitement of the new school, combined with the clear track students would have for life after school, would make it easier to recruit industry in Autauga County. Lastly, the Autauga County Board of Education's financial reality. At our most recent work session, Stiefel, the bond company that many of you use, we use, the county commission, they outlined our financial limitations as it relates to bonds. Because bonds must be backed by sales tax or extra millage, the Board of Education can qualify for only $30 to $50 million in bonds. To be clear, this is not because of financial shortcomings. Actually, 2 years ago, we didn't qualify for anything. We've paid down a lot of debt. We have increased some of our capability. The limited amount of money is simply because bonds require a pledging of mills or sales tax, and our current tax base and revenue is currently pledged to other bonds, primarily being the new one that funded the Prattville Kindergarten School. To be clear, the cost of construction has also skyrocketed. A new Prattville High School will be around $150 million. A new Prattville Junior High would be between $46 and $52 million. A new elementary school, similar to Daniel Pratt, would be $50 to $60 million, and a new Marbury Middle School would be $15 to $25 million. Renovating old buildings has gotten to the point where renovation costs are very similar, if not more than, the cost of new construction. For example, we recently received quotes to renovate the 2 small restrooms near the gym at Prattville Junior High, along with the self-contained special education classroom. This project, very small in scope, came in at $1.5 million to renovate 1 classroom and 2 small bathrooms. Earlier, I mentioned the model has to change. What I mean by this is we're at a crossroads about how to handle growth across our county. Many districts have used funding agreements to solve their problems. This is what I mean with our model has to change. I think our mindset also has to change as it relates to that. As a county system, we are growing very fast. The county schools, Billingsley and Marbury's enrollment is up. Prattville's enrollment stabilized this year. I'm very glad to say that. The growth in Prattville continues to be a challenge long term, and we have to have a way to fix buildings in the city without a funding agreement. Stiefel made it very clear to all of us that if there is no additional tax revenue, or if sales tax revenue does not substantially increase, we will not be able to do any more building projects in Autauga County for the next 10 to 20 years once we look at that one last project that we can afford. Again, I ask that you remember the numbers I listed earlier. So if that's our capability and we have all these needs, that's where we're at. I'm here tonight because several of you have reached out and asked me to make a specific ask of both the commission and the city council. I went to the commission earlier, I'm here tonight. My specific ask is to enter into a funding agreement with us to build a new Prattville High School. I will continue to pursue grants. Any grants that are awarded obviously would lessen the bond that we have to take out. Worst case scenario is that we receive no grants. This would cause the city and or commission to need to take out the loan and then pay between $5 to $6 million a year. The Board of Education would contribute around $2 to $3 million a year. Obviously, my board would have to vote to approve the agreement before it became effective. We need to know pretty quickly, and I say that respectfully. You know, we've been talking about this project for going on a year now. And the reality that the board and I have is my board's up for re-election in 3 years. If you start construction today, you're looking at 3 years before kids walk in the door. We know we only qualify for that one project, a very small project. As it relates to the city of Prattville, that one project might get a Prattville Junior High. You could do an elementary school, but you're only solving one issue. If you take the approach of reconfiguration with the high school, then use the current high school that you have now, and then work at Daniel Pratt, Prattville Kindergarten, you can get down to 3 areas. Long term, that sets you up much better than what you are right now. I just ask, I know you guys are looking at the same stuff we've been, but I respectfully ask that we know something within 60 days. I think that gives all of us time to look at everything, you know, have meetings with your, have work sessions, do what you got to do with Mr. Oakley, find out, can you do something? If the answer is no, hey, I'm not gonna be upset about that. I respect it. We're all looking at the same tax base. We're all looking at the same reality. If the answer is no, it just kills the idea of CAC. And then the board and I have to look at what we're going to do to try to solve many of the issues with a very small pot of money. We're going to do something. I don't know what that something is. We just can't fix it all with what we got. So I know you guys have heard all that. Like the commission said a minute ago, hey, we've heard it a few times. I think we are all just ready to get to the point of, hey, can we do this? Can we not? So that's really all I've got on that end. I know you probably have some questions. I'll answer anything I possibly can. I just want to say, regardless of the project, I think the path forward is like we've done. I've enjoyed working with Mayor Gillespie. We talk all the time. I enjoy working with you guys. We've got a lot accomplished. We still got a lot to get accomplished. And again, if the answer is yes, we move forward. If the answer is no, we still got to move forward. I just don't know what it looks like. So I thank y'all for the time tonight. And this time I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Superintendent Woodman?
Mr. Woodman, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but since we met last week, some of the discussions around the community, this isn't my opinion or my comments, but it's come from some others, who are saying a new high school is more of a luxury than a need. How would you answer that?
No, I can understand that rationale if you're not in our world every day. You know, the reality is when I came on board 2.5 years ago, one of the first things I witnessed was, y'all have heard this story before, but people need to understand the reality. I walked into the media center at Prattville Primary, and I saw a pool sitting there, and I said, hey, what's that for? I thought it was a cool reading station. The teacher said, no, that's where we collect rainwater every time it rains. For 2.5 years, we have been knocking out as many of those projects as we can. The reality is the facilities and the needs of the kids and everything that your faculty and staff needs, as you start renovating them, guys, they're from the 60s. So when I start renovating them, the code now is totally different. And by the time you get done renovating, you could have built something cheaper than what you are renovating. So to answer that, okay, let's say you don't build anything, okay? Let's say we go 20 years. Are we really going to go 20 more years of Prattville Primary being almost 150 years old? Or maybe that's right with my math. You scale that 20 years and you go, okay, what does this system look like in the city of Prattville with choice and everything else coming down the pipe? What do we look like in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? The reality is I feel like we've made a lot of changes. Our enrollment in the city of Prattville, I'm not going to run from it. It was declining quite a bit. It's, for the most part, stabilized this year. You know, if that trend continues, you've got to have a place that you want to come to school. And the reality is the city of Prattville buildings are in not very good shape. Now, we've done a lot of upgrades that get us by, but it's still not what it needs to be. So to answer that, I'm kind of rambling, but to answer that, you're either going to have to build multiple new schools. When you add up that cost, number one, I don't know how you're going to afford it. Number two, that needs coming whether you like it or not. Or you can solve all the feeder pattern issues, you can solve the facility issues, and you can get down to 3 new facilities that people want to go to, and you can protect your enrollment. That's the reality. If you don't figure out how to protect the enrollment in the city of Prattville, with choice coming and everything else, I really do hesitate to think what this looks like in a few years.
And also, Dr. Ferris, I believe, mentioned that Prattville High School graduates, percentage of those who attend college after graduation is over 50%.
Yes.
And that's higher than the state average.
Look,
so this would, I can only imagine, increase that.
Yes, sir. And, you know, that's, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I'm not coming again. You know, I appreciate y'all hearing me out one more time. I don't think our public really understands. Yes, we have problems and we try to fix things, and I'm not saying we're perfect. But I am saying that I see what our teachers do every day, and I look at the product. Look at your county system statewide, compare report card scores, and ask yourself, where do we rank? Do it. You're going to see we're at the top of that list as far as county systems. But the needs have changed. We've kicked this can down the road for 50, 60, 70 years, and quite frankly, to defend everybody in your seat and my seat and board seats, you didn't have the funds available to do it then. I know funds are tight now, but what are we really going to keep pushing this down the road? You know, at some point we got to start making some decisions. Now, the issue with my board and myself is, you know, we only qualify for that amount, but I've said this repeatedly. We've got 2 major problems. We've got the city of Prattville, and then you have the growth in that Pine Level exit. Those 2 long-term are very problematic. This solution, I believe, gets us where we need to be. It shows our families that we're serious about education in Prattville, and it protects what we all remember as Prattville schools. I feel like it gets us on a playing field that, quite frankly, with recruitment of industry and giving kids what they need. I mean, at the end of the day, this could be one of the first projects across the state that does exactly what we claim to do. Everybody throws around workforce development. I'm so tired of hearing workforce development. There is no better plan for workforce development than what I'm giving you. Well, why can't you do it right now? I hear you loud and clear. I get it. You're not on a campus on a college, so you're still going to have issues with trying to match the kids' schedules to get them what they need. This plan allows CAC and us to share staff. That changes the game in what they can offer and what we can offer. Now you can offer dual enrollment classes, 1st through 7th period, all day, every day, that completely changes the complexion of all that. CAC has a scholarship program where, you know, a lot of the college classes are free. So we literally can get kids in the school free, whether they're going for dual enrollment. Let's say they want to do dual enrollment welding. All of that is covered. What better way of developing the workforce than having a school that's going to target all 3 areas that a kid may go into? You know, we talked about sharing facilities. If we can build that facility for our cadets, I mean, I think it becomes, long-term, a place where you can have police, students who want to go in police, that becomes part of that career tech pathway. They can train there. There's a lot of cool things that you can do if you have the facilities available. Didn't mean to ramble on that question.
Sorry. Thank you. Are there any other questions for?
I have a couple of comments I want to make because this is an important decision. This is a key generational decision on whether or not we participate or not. It's going to impact this entire county, specifically the city of Prattville. So the way I look at it is you're presenting that there are 4 options out there. Option 1 is to do nothing. We ride the train till the wheels go off, and wherever it crashes, it crashes. It'll be long after we're gone, and they'll have to deal with it. That's option 1. Do nothing. I don't like it. Option number 2 is us to not participate, and you will then take out whatever loan that you can take out as a school board, and you will spend your money on either a junior high up by the high school, or a middle school, I should say. Allows you to take some property off the table and satisfy a need. Or maybe you put that money into a new high school of some type or sort, or maybe you spend that money in a different location in the county.
Right.
All right? Option number 3 is that we participate with you and help finance something bigger so that you can do a high school at the CAC area, which would fulfill what you're talking about, right? And then option number 4 is that a city school system be started.
A what?
A city school system be started. Now, the reason I say that, and the only reason I'm saying this, I know everybody's going to blow up on me, but I want to make sure that we all understand all the options that are out there. And here's the things I want to talk about with this last option. When I graduated from high school here, Talk County and Prattville were under the same umbrella. And Prattville has since then, it was 20,000 people in the city in that day. Now there's 40,000. We've doubled its size, and we've grown out toward the interstate, which is great. But we've also crossed county lines. And what that has done now is we've taken the Autauga County school system, where 60%, I believe it's about 60% of your
Yes, sir.
students reside inside the city limits of Prattville.
Yep.
We are basically the majority of the Autauga County school system. Elmore County has about 1 or 2% that go to their county school system, but because they do, they get money on the Elmore County side, which is where a large portion of our tax comes from, that goes to their county school system. We're out of balance. We've grown outside of our county. We've grown outside of realistically what you can handle financially as we've grown, in my opinion. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a good thing we've grown. We've just, because of the county lines, have got ourselves into a quandary. A way to fix that is option 4 with the city school system, which would be to create a bucket, disconnect from you guys, and then claw back whatever money that we're allowed to claw back out of the Elmore County side, and then stand our own system up, unbuckle, because it's really not the Prattville High School, it's the Autauga County Schools Prattville High campus. And as long as we're hitched to you guys, we're both hurting, because we can't control our destiny. We're allowing you to. You want to control our destiny better, but financially you can't get there. You can't raise taxes. The county has to. The county schools, they're nice. Marbury High School, they're nice, or Marbury schools have been built primarily with a lot of tax money coming from Prattville. We have got to realize as a city, we need to either take option number 3, pony up, figure out how to get our school system out of its, situation it's in, reconsolidate, reorganize, whatever else it is we need to do. Or what I would like to see, and this is to spur conversation from constituents, a city school system. We may have to, it's going to be hard. It may be challenging. It may cost us a little bit more. But if we can do that and follow a model like you're talking about at the same time, we can take Prattville to the next generational level. This is a generational decision. And I want us to really consider, everybody consider that this you are here now because of all those dynamics we talked about. Pike Road's got their own city school. They're starting out that way because they see what happens when you're buckled to a county system that you outgrow. And with Marbury and with Pine Level growing and you having to contend with them as well as us, and the debacle we have with growing across county lines, I don't see any other better way out than a city school system. So I want the buzz to start talking around town about how wrong Counselor Newman is or how right he is. I don't care, but we've got to figure something out. This has gone on long enough, and I don't mean any malice to any school board member now or past. I don't mean any malice to any other county official. We have let this can get kicked down the road to the point that you're here because of it, and actions have consequences. I would love to see our city, we can do it, take on a city school system. I have had people when I was campaigning tell me they're selling their house if this public education piece doesn't get worked out. And if we don't get it worked out, we will become a education black hole, and we can just look at some of the other communities in Alabama, some not too far from us, what that looks like. And I don't want that to happen in my city. So we need to have an honest conversation about it. If you're giving us a 60-day deadline, we need to start getting some feedback on this.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the honesty there. That was a curveball, but I'll answer it the best I can. I think you're right to definitely look at what is the tax structure. Guys, that's why we looked at a hybrid model system. We were looking at the same thing, because when you add up, and I don't know the exact numbers, but when you add up the sales tax revenue that we get for the Autauga County portion versus what they get in Elmore, you are spot on. There is a large discrepancy, but it's going to be that way because it's sales tax. So it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is. That's where the growth is. So I fully understand that. When I talked in my little speech about the model, I'm talking about thought processes. I'm talking about how it looks. Now, that's why I'm here, and I want y'all to discuss it, because a funding agreement with a county system, yeah, I mean, if y'all decide to do a city system in 5 to 10 years, that's going to be problematic. That's why you got to have these discussions. That's why we've been talking about this for a year now. Obviously, I'm not in favor of that, but I do understand what you're saying. And I will say, if that's the only way that the city council feels comfortable giving money to that educational component, again, I don't agree. I do understand. I'm trying to respectfully answer what you're asking me there. But the reality is, and I will not run from this, and I've said it 100 times, again, we literally studied systems in Georgia trying to find the funding system answer. The reality is, the way it's currently set up, with no funding agreement, with the board having to do all that, a 10 mil tax base does not provide the loan capability for us to fix our problems. That is the reality. I think we can get it done through a funding agreement, but I think you're also, like you said, this is if we did this, it would be a 30-year commitment. And if that discussion is occurring internally, look, I respect that discussion, but we definitely need to know the answer to that before we move forward, because changing a funding agreement midstream, that's some of the stuff y'all read about that gets so volatile between municipalities when they go to a city system. So respectfully, I just ask, and I've said this to a couple of you internally when that question's come up, I'm a believer in the county system. I understand that we got challenges. I think people see that we've made a lot of improvement. We still got some things we got to fix. But without a funding agreement, I can't fix the facility problems. I've been very clear on that. We cannot fix the two issues we have with the current model. I believe it can be a funding agreement, but I understand what you're saying. And I like how you said that. At the end of the day, we got to carry out the will of the people. But I want to be on the record. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with that, but I understand the rationale. And that's a big discussion y'all got to have before you can get to the other. If that's something you're going to do, I respectfully, on the behalf of our board and our employees, I respectfully say, that's the first conversation y'all need to have before you get into a funding agreement, because that's going to drive all that other.
And I bring that up in this
I respect
position.
that you bring it up. Yeah.
Right, as a city representative.
Yeah.
What's best for the city overall, and it may be, the feedback may be, that we're not gonna do that, we're not ready for that. But I will at least want that discussion to be out there, and that option to be known, that it's something that needs to be thought about.
Right. No, I respect that. And again, you're looking at exactly what I looked at a year and a half ago. If there was a way to capture the money in East Prattville, yes, our model would be fine. You would have the flexibility from a county system to do it. The reality is you can't. We tried. We looked at it. I'm very close to Richard Dennis. There was some good conversations during that process. But, I see why you're saying that, because I did the same thing. But again, I'm not saying I support that by no means, but I understand what you're getting at. I just respectfully ask, because that's going to kick up a lot of stuff, and I appreciate you doing it to an extent, but I just ask that if that's something that the council is discussing, we owe it to our people to know that answer before the other one comes up. You know what I'm saying? And again, I understand that, but there's no world where I see 10 years down the road, the Board of Education's been putting in $2, $3, $4 million a year. You guys have been putting in $5 to $6 million a year, you know, and there's no world where I see that ending nicely 10, 15 years down the road. You guys, y'all may still be here. I doubt very seriously I am. You know, there's a lot of change that happens and components change.
And that's why I brought the topic
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
because decision gets made, it's made.
Right.
It's a long-term decision. It's a generational decision.
They can be adjusted and amended, but you just get to the point where, you know, let's say the county commission jumps in. If they had a very good meeting over there a minute ago, if the county commission says, hey, we're a part of this county funding model, and then you guys break off 5 years down the road, that they have a legitimate argument too, because they joined a county funding system model. So I think that's the first big thing y'all got to figure out is that something you're going to do? And if it is, we can have that discussion. I mean, legally, I can't stop you. You know that. We all know that. Anybody that can do a Google search knows you can't. There's no stopping that. But there's a lot of planning that goes in that too. Anyway, that's another discussion for another day. But I just ask if that's the discussion. I just ask for my employees and our students and everybody that we know that pretty quick, because that's going to drive a lot of different. The whole funding agreement pauses right there. I mean, the whole funding agreement pauses. Obviously, I wouldn't take out a loan. We would then shift to a transition type deal, but you're talking about a lot of moving parts there. But I appreciate you saying that, and maybe it'll cause discussion. At some point, everybody's got to get on the same page and push and work toward what we got to get fixed.
Are there any other questions or comments for Superintendent Whiffen?
I just want to say, Lyman, thank you so much for coming and working with what you guys work with. In and out, I've seen it for years and years and years, and I think that we have the best of the best here, and I think that as a community, we need to get on board. We need to support our schools. We need to support our children, our community. It's not just a here and now situation. You know, we're planting trees that we're never going to sit under the shade of. And I thank you for everything that you've done, because I know that for a year and a half, there is no stone unturned in what you have been doing, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for the time, and appreciate what you guys do, regardless how this, again, that's why I started off what I did. I think we all agree with that. We've worked very well together, and appreciate all you do. Mayor, I didn't mean to take up all your time. I didn't take it all up, did I?
Just we got one more. Sorry.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so again, I don't know, you said you guys can only do what, 25 to, how much?
The range was 30 to 50 million. That agreement would be what Stiefel provided at that work session. I believe he had the county and city combining for 5 to 6. We would put up the 2 to 3. That would get you to where that payment is. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So 5 to 6 is what you would need combined from the city and the county?
Yeah, however
over 30
all
years.
that worked out between the two entities.
Over 30 years to get the $150 million new high school?
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, just wanted to make
According to the bond.
Okay, and I want to say how much I appreciate what you're doing. You know, we started these discussions, Kyle, Amy, all of us, back in 2018. We've discussed, I think that was the first time we even mentioned the hybrid system.
Right.
We looked at Savannah, Georgia, Chatham. I think they have something like
Yes,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So that was the first time we looked into the hybrid. So we've looked into all the options. I know you guys have turned over every rock, but I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I hope, so you need something from us within the next 60 days?
I think that gives us enough of a window as a board to start laying out some long-term plans. Now, again, respectfully, that's a great conversation, and the wheels are spinning now, but with that conversation, I think with the conversation you guys are going to have with your constituents in the city, you know, I think that even heightens that timeline even faster, because that that transition changes the entire conversation, you know, if you guys do that.
What
You know,
transition?
If y'all go the route that Mr. Newman talked about.
Oh, okay.
But I think we need to know, number one, are y'all gonna do that? Number two, if you are, okay, if you're not, okay, now are you in on an agreement or not? And again, either way, we'll figure it out from there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, thank y'all. Thank you, Mayor. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Well, again, happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'm going to change my report up just a little bit since we were talking about education here, because a component of it as well that we have to keep in mind is the egress, ingress into that area. And we have a study being done, and hopefully more and more of that will be coming back. So that would definitely need to be a big component of this picture. Tonight, I have put in front of you a letter that's going to be going out not only to the residents of Greencrest, but also be going out some on our website as well, social media, because it talks about closing of Greencrest for a short period of time and for some traffic calming work in that area. So we will be getting more and more of that information out. But, and again, thank you for the point of privilege. Counselors, you know, this past Saturday was a perfect day to officially kick off our spring baseball season. It's good to see everyone that was there. You know, we had over 600 kids playing in the city's league this year. The turnout was a clear sign of how much this program has grown, evolved under the leadership and experience for Parks and Recs Department. It's especially great to see our counselors join in by throwing out the first pitch, or I should say pitches, because there's all of us, most of us were up there, more than one. But beyond the numbers and excitement, you know, days like these are more than just about the baseball. They're about creating lasting memories for our families and teaching our young athletes the value of teamwork, respect, and sportsmanship while building their confidence and forging friendships. And Councilor Stritchett, thank you for referencing Kelly Carter earlier. You know, she is a trooper. She's been a great asset to this community. Councilors, also like to say, since our October budget, I'm pleased to report that the budgeting zero-G swing chair was installed a couple of weeks ago at Newton Park and is available for use. This specialized ADA-compliant swing is designed to provide children with physical disabilities the opportunity to safely enjoy the playground experience. With this addition, we now have 2 of these inclusive swings, the other being located at Pratt Park. Also, others have been placed for installation at Overlook Park and Low Pickett Park. Even though the pandemic is over, still sometimes that supply chain can be a challenge. But this continued investment reflects our strong commitment to ensuring that all children, regardless of ability, have access to safe, engaging, and inclusive recreation opportunities within our community. Councilors, at this time, I would like to touch base on North Highland Park. I'd just like to mention that multiple professional engineers have been involved in the planning and design of the approved upgrades at NHP, as I like to call it. And with council authorization, improvements are currently underway. But regarding agenda item number 5, which is about North Highland Park, NHP, I need to stress that city staff and I had no influence over the engineering firm that council will be choosing tonight if you decide to act on agenda item number 5. I would like to see a resolution naming a firm to oversee all construction at North Highland Park as that project moves forward. Would like to mention a little bit about North Highland Park because I have talked about it since 2016. You know, it's been mentioned many, many times how North Highland Park has been treated different from other city parks. But in 2016, I spearheaded some talks with the North Highland Community Center president at the time to potentially enter into a partnership to build a children's playground around their property. And that was to increase recreation activities in District 2. The city has gained complete ownership of NHP only in the summer of 2022. There's been a lot of challenges on knowing exactly who the right ownership was, and with that, come to find out, it was actually with our Board of Ed partners here that actually own it, and they have gifted it to us. But we have assumed all maintenance, repairs, and improvements to make it a very viable and integrated part of the community. I also like to say, maybe take a little me-I moment at this time. Under my leadership, I lobbied quite a bit for our local recovery funds from the American Rescue Plan, where we leveraged to support phased-in improvements at North Highland Park, Spinners Park, and Low Picket Park. There's been so many other projects that have gone on inside of NHP. The bathroom was a part of this, but then other playground equipment, some playground equipment. There had been brand new playground equipment that was donated to the city. We actually installed it in that park and added additional young kids playground equipment to that. So there's been a lot of different projects that have gone on, and I know that the big elephant in the room right now is the wall. And I know before y'all, you do have that agreement that that I expect y'all to pass, naming a structural engineer to go in and look at that. But we need to look at the big picture. While there's so much negativity that's been surrounded with this administration, trying to improve this area for all to enjoy this area, it is, in my opinion, the best interest for the city, for myself and staff, for us to completely remove ourselves from any more projects inside of NHP until the projects are finished. And the key is a turnkey operation, and we can then take it back over and continue to repair it, monitor it, just like we have been and will continue to do after the projects are completed. But those are my comments on North Highland Park for tonight. Councilors, as a part of our city's commitment to be efficient and responsive with our services, we're evaluating whether to continue Saturday hours at our recycling center, which is located at 530 Dolster Road. Please visit the city's homepage and take a survey. It will be available through the close of business on Friday, March the 20th. Your voice helps us make decisions that work for everyone. It still amazes me that even though our recycling, our sanitation department has evolved so much over the last 10, 15 years, and recycling is a big part of their task. We always want to include and evolve it to whatever our citizens are wanting. Let's see, we're also revamping our themed car show here in Prattville with a new name and location to create an even bigger and better experience for our car lovers in the community. So please don't miss the Prattville Cruise In Car Show on Saturday, April the 4th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the 124 West Main Street outdoor venue, where the Graham Harper Band will perform starting at 6 p.m. This is a free family-friendly event. I hope to see everyone there. We have talked a whole bunch with our downtown merchants, our restaurants, and hopefully it'll be a good time for everyone. Councilors, I'd also like to touch base a little bit on dilapidated structures, a little bit of a timeline on that. I think it is important to clarify some of the circumstances surrounding dilapidated structures. And if everyone here, and some of this is information for our people at home, but if everyone would recall, during the December 2nd, 2025 council meeting, our city attorney outlined a newly established procedure to streamline the notice for dilapidated structure, which now runs solely through the planning department's permitting process. In the spirit of cooperation and compassion, we have held off on 103 7th Street dilapidated structure abatement orders approved by this council. The property owners have been given ample opportunity to present a plan for repairing the remaining structures or to pursue their own demolition to resolve the nuisance conditions. Unfortunately, to date, as of today, the city has not observed substantial visible progress in addressing the identified issues. They did call but have not delivered any documents. When the council votes to abate a nuisance structure, staff must proceed in accordance with that direction and the procedures required by ordinance. I remind all that the structures in questions are currently vacant. No one is living there. The concerns being addressed relate to the property's condition and the safety and welfare of the surrounding community. Our goal is not to create hardship for any resident, but to ensure that properties within the city are maintained in a manner that protects public safety and neighborhood stability. The city remains willing to work with property owners to correct and alleviate these nuisances. That's the end of my comments on that. And at this time, Councilor Merrick, if you happen to be available this Friday around lunchtime, we have a few items of interest that our city engineer and attorney and I need to discuss with you. So if you could.
Yes, sir. I'll be available.
My office will coordinate all that.
Yes, sir.
Council President, end of my report.
All right. Are there any questions for the mayor?
Yes, sir. First, I want to state that we've received multiple calls that Mrs. Jones, who came down and spoke, I know she had, when she came down a few weeks ago, she let us know that she had been sick. Got a call that last week that she was in the hospital, and got another call that she is still in the hospital as of today. Her daughter informed us via email. I did send an email to our attorney Friday at 3:11 a.m., and I sent it to the attorney and to the council. I said, I'm writing to formally request a legal review of the city of Prattville's current dilapidated structure permit application form. After reviewing this document, I have found several provisions that could raise legal and policy concerns for the city, including possible issues related to federal privacy law, the Fair Housing Act, and constitutional due process protections. Since this form is currently used in connection with the city's enforcement of dilapidated structure ordinances, I respectfully ask that your office conduct a legal review and provide a written opinion on these matters. Collection of social security numbers. Section 2 of the application requires applicants to provide their social security number on paper form submitted to the planning department. This practice raises several questions that may need legal review. The form does not seem to include a Privacy Act notice informing applicants of the authority on which the social security number is collected, how the information will be used, and whether disclosure is mandatory or voluntary. Collecting social security numbers through paper forms may pose data security and records management risk if such information is lost, mishandled, or stored improperly. It is unclear what government purpose necessitates collecting social security numbers for a dilapidated structure permit application. Clarification on the legal authority and necessity for this collection would be helpful. Fair Housing Act and equal protection consideration. Dilapidated structure ordinances have historically raised concerns in some areas about disproportionate enforcement impacts on certain communities. Therefore, it may be wise to review if any aspects of the current application process could raise concerns under the Fair Housing Act 42, Section 3601, or the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. One potential issue is the requirement that applicants submit a pre-qualification letter from a lending institution showing the ability to secure financing. This financial screening might create barriers for property owners who lack access to traditional lending sources, including individuals on fixed income, seniors, and residents in communities that have historically faced barriers to credit access. Because enforcement of dilapidated structures can significantly impact housing stability, it is advisable to review whether this requirement could unintentionally have a disparate impact on protected classes under the Fair Housing Act. Additionally, reviewing enforcement data to determine if actions are applied evenly across neighborhoods and demographic groups, such as seniors and residents on fixed income, would be prudent. For risk management, it would be wise to evaluate whether any part of the current process could create unintended impacts that might expose the city to legal claims under the Fair Housing Act or other federal civil rights laws. Due process consideration. The application form does not appear to mention a property owner's right to appeal or contest a dilapidated structure decision. While these rights may be outlined elsewhere in city procedures, it is advisable to confirm that property owners are clearly informed of any appeal or hearing rights in line with Alabama law and the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. request for legal review. Based on the concern raised, I respectfully ask your office to provide a written legal opinion addressing the issues outlined above, offer guidance on whether the current application form should be revised or temporarily suspended during the review, clarify the legal authority for collecting Social Security numbers and requiring proof of financing for the permit process, recommend any necessary revisions to ensure the application and procedure comply fully with federal and state law, request for a temporary administrative stay. Given the concerns presented, I respectfully request that the city consider implementing a temporary pause on using the current dilapidated structure permit application until the legal review is completed and necessary updates are made. The request is intended not to impede the city's authority to address unsafe or dilapidated structures, but to ensure that the enforcement actions are compliant with applicable federal and state laws. A temporary halt in using the current form pending review could reduce legal risk for the city and ensure property owners are processed through a legally sound and consistent system. So this is what I sent to the council and to Andrew, of course.
You didn't send that to Mayor
So-
Add, is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay, okay.
So with that being said, I know that this application has been used, I think, even with the Robinsons, and I think this application has been used with the Joneses who own that property at 103 7th Street. So considering we may be opening ourselves up to some legal issues moving down the road, considering that we have some questionable language that has been included, some that's been excluded, you know, and I would hate to see us put the city at risk if we continue to move forward with any type of execution, considering what's going on with those, with Ms. Jones, and we've used this application to determine that their property is dilapidated.
Okay.
So
Well, okay,
Yeah.
now that has nothing to do with how it was determined to be dilapidated. All this was, well, that's what you said.
no, but what
with-
I'm saying
with-
is that they had to use this application.
All the processes that we've been putting in place has been trying to create safety nets.
I
Safety
understand.
nets. And
But-
here is where y'all voted, May the 9th, 2024, to determine that 103 7th Street is a dilapidated structure to be removed by a local company.
But going back, even going back to that, I wasn't gonna bring that up. But going back even to that, we talked about how the packet did not have all the necessary information to make a decision, because at the time we did not know that they had been working, that they had already removed 3 structures from around the house. And also on that, in our packet, it stated that the city was responsible for contacting all the heirs to that particular property. And so I know in our packet, it showed that we sent a certified letter to one of the heirs to the property, but we didn't see the certified letters to the other applicants. And then the one applicant that it did go to, they hadn't lived at that address for a couple of years. So what I'm saying is that when we made the determination to tear it down, we did not necessarily have all of the information. And now, like I say, I wasn't even trying to go there. I'm just trying to address this particular application that we have in place that may be opening us up to litigation.
Well, I did
if we
ask the
continue
city
to move
attorney
forward.
to pull that together so we could create that safety net. And has he replied to your email?
He did. He replied, I think it was yesterday, and he did address a couple of those issues.
May I get a copy of all that?
Sure.
Thank you. Sir,
Sure, yeah, I mean, I'll just comment, I understand what you're saying about the application itself, but we're kind of talking about apples and oranges here. This case is one in which the council has voted on and came before the council, it was voted on. This permit form is, like the mayor said, a safety net that property owners can use before it gets to this point, to where if they do want to take action on their own to either repair or demolish it, then they have that opportunity to do that. I think that collectively also with the early notification procedures that's been happening, I mean, that provides another safety net for owners to take action in their own hands before it gets to the council. And then, yeah, I mean, just to sum up my response, you know, I don't want to read through the entire thing, but, you know, number one, I don't think social security numbers would be necessary or required based on my discussions with the planning department. You know, we can find the title, just knowing the owner's name and their address. We don't need the socials. And also, I think the other point was a letter of credit from a lending institution. You know, there are situations where property owners can fundraise or perhaps get volunteer work. So I don't see why that would be necessary either. That being said, I don't think the application form itself is legally defective. I think this just gives owners another avenue and another safety net to address these issues before it gets to this point, before it's already voted on.
Yeah, and you did respond, and I think I responded back, because I think even one of the other things I responded with was the due process, you know, were they aware of what they're allowed to do as far as disputing the dilapidated determination for their property. You know, have we included that? Were they informed of those, of that information on the application? Because I know that they did submit that application. They have used that application to to get the work done on their house.
Well, it was incomplete, but they have not done any work on the structure.
But they have done some work. They did remove the 3 structures, because I've talked to them, and they've spent thousands of dollars to remove the 3 other structures, because that was another thing that we didn't realize when it came before us, that they had already. So they are showing that they're trying to do some work, because they didn't just not do anything. They did remove the other 3 structures that were on the property that they needed to get removed. So again, they have shown some work, but here we are talking about elderly people. They're sickly, they're on fixed incomes. So again, they have shown progress. What type of progress? Do they know what it is that we're necessarily looking for when you say showing progress? Because they have shown progress, and considering they're elderly, we're not talking about some young, spry chickens here. We're talking about older people who cannot get around and do what they need to do. And like I say, Ms. Jones is currently in the hospital, and she's been in the hospital a couple of weeks.
Hey, if I can, I'm not sure what we're going to accomplish tonight with this discussion, other than we're bringing about the questions that have been asked and answers that have been given. So I think the case came before the council. The council made the decision. I think the bigger question was the proper notification made on the original decision? So, Andrew, I guess I would refer that question to you. You've looked at the entire process.
Yeah, it's my opinion that all the owners of record, they were noticed by certified mail, and those notices were received. And of course, there are situations where it does list heirs, and in that instance, my directive has been to do notice by publication. But in this instance, notice was sent certified mail and received by all owners of record.
So we have record of the notification going out and record that it was received prior to the council's decision on the structure.
That's right.
One of them was returned.
Okay.
But
But
it was
it-
sent certified.
Right, the notice was sent certified mail.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I'm not sure what we're going to accomplish by continuing to have this discussion here tonight, so.
Well, and I guess when it goes back, Andrew, even going back to our packet, I see where it was sent to the one, and of course, we found out that she didn't live at that address, but do y'all have documentation where the others were notified that we can see? Okay,
The clerk, you sent that to the council? Okay.
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 If I might
thank you.
suggest that if council does not want staff to do their job, because they are following the spirit and
ordinance,
letter of
correct.
the ordinance, which helped me out. We get those powers from the state. We basically follow their guidelines on how to craft this ordinance. And so either please support staff or remove the ordinance.
I don't think we're necessarily questioning the staff. I think just some of the things, even with his response to adding Social Security, does that, requiring Social Security numbers, requiring proof of financing from the bank or credit institution, does that fall up under state guidelines? Is that one of the state suggestions when we do these type of applications? Because it's included, but was that recommended, is that something that the state recommends that we do?
That is not a part of the ordinance.
What I'm talking about is application process.
I'm not sure where we're gonna get with this conversation.
I agree.
I mean, I understand the questions. It's just that, the application process is for, once the notification has been made, if they want to voluntarily, come before it comes to the council, in this case, the dilapidated structure came before the council and a decision was made. So we can discuss the regular day-to-day policies and outline of how the process works at a different time. I know we're not gonna be able to come to any kind of conclusion on that here during this meeting. All right, is there any other questions for the mayor?
Can I just say one thing? Looking back at that council meeting, I remember specifically asking, I don't know if I was gearing that toward Andrew, but asking, had the Joneses been in correspondence with us in terms of over the phone, that kind of thing? And the response to me that night, which was no, they have not. So that was the only reason that I voted yay. I will never again vote to demolish a home, because either that later that evening or the next day, we found out that yes, they had contacted us by phone and were trying to correspond with us. So I feel like that I got inaccurate information when I asked that question, and I have learned my lesson, and I do feel that, I mean, that absolutely affected my vote that night. So that's all I want to say on that.
Okay.
And if I might just piggyback off of that, that's another reason for us, because prior to that, we were sending out all the information on dilapidated structures to all of the counselors, which I believe it might have been one of your first meetings. So just for the record there. But that information had been going out, I believe is for a year before this came up. Don't hold me to that. I'm going off of memory here. But because of that, we now have our early notification, thank you, early notification to all the counselors up here about various challenges inside their districts, dilapidated structures, garbage, rubbish, and stuff along that line. So I guess that's for our folks at home too, knowing hopefully they'll know that we are trying to be proactive and also in a way that we might be able to help our neighbors, and maybe churches might get involved, or nonprofits, something along that line. So,
All right.
President, thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, we'll go into our reports on special committees. Councilor Newman?
No report.
Councilor Jackson? No. Councilor Merritt?
No, sir.
Councilor Stritchick? No. Councilor Langley? No. And I have none. At this time, we will hear a report on the status of the city finances from our CFO, Daniel Oakley.
Yes, sir. So the first page in your packet is the general fund revenue report, and it shows that we've received $28,902,578 for the fiscal year to date.
That's a dig. Sorry. It's a wasp. Just got me the back. Thank you, sir.
Got 'em.
Got it?
Well, we have a rule around my house: if you kill it, you have to eat it. Would you like some chocolate?
Save him for later.
I think it might. Got me right below the cheek. I'm okay, folks. You're my hero.
Carry on, Mr. Oakley.
We
Thank you.
have the EMS in the back if we need it, but, okay. 2.24 increase. Okay.
I can hear you.
No, it's fine. I just, yeah, he's turning red.
Anybody chewing tobacco with them?
2.24% increase over the same period in the prior year. The next page is the tax breakdown comparison. On the tax side, we were up 6.4% when compared to the previous February. The next 3 pages show the general fund expenses broken down by department, and with 41.7% of the fiscal year complete, we have spent 44.7% of our budgeted expenditures in the general fund. Next page is the wastewater enterprise fund income statement. The wastewater fund generated a net income from operations of $152,833. Both operating expenses and overall expenses are coming in under budget at around 35% through February. Next page is the sanitation enterprise fund income statement. Sanitation fund generated a net income of $113,075 for the month. Operating expenses came in at 33.5%, and overall expenses are at 36.2%, so both are pretty comfortably under budget. Next page is the judicial special revenue fund income statement. The judicial fund reported a net loss of $109,045 for February. This was due to the first quarterly Metro jail payment that we have, and that payment's roughly $180,000 each quarter. Overall expenses are still well below budget at 31.2%. Next page is the bank balances report, and the total of all outstanding bank balances citywide was $50,512,831 at the end of the month. And the last page in your packet's the accounts payable and debt balances report. Total outstanding AP and debt balance citywide at the end of the month was $65,463,181, while the city's non-enterprise fund debt was $35,687,431.
All right, are there any questions from Mr. Oakley? None? All right, at this time, we are going to take a 5-minute recess. We will reconvene at 7:20.
Hey, man, did you get it?
I'm just glad he's not allergic.
I walked it. You wouldn't think you would need it here. Good. All right, thank you. We will reconvene now. I said 7:20, but it's actually 7:24. And we will now move into the rest of our agenda for tonight. Tonight, we have the opportunity to create a consent agenda. There are 8 items to consider on the agenda, and they are: item number 1, it's a resolution to authorize the city attorney to affix the cost for the removal of garbage and rubbish at 810 Martin Luther King Drive. Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the city attorney to affix the cost of demolition of dilapidated and unsafe structure at 814 Wilberforce Avenue, formerly addressed as 809 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Item number 3 is a resolution to ratify and affirm renewal of the levy of 7 mil ad valorem tax for the city of Prattville. Item number 4 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 507 Boxwood Road a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 5 is a resolution to declare garbage and rubbish at 423 Old Farm Lane a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 6 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 243 West 6th Street a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Item number 7 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 275 West 6th Street a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. And item number 8 is a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish at 674 Lower Kingston Road a public nuisance and authorize the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses pursuant to Chapter 46, City of Prattville Code of Ordinances. Do I hear a motion to create a consent agenda? So moved. Motion by Councilor Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Merrick. All in favor of creating a consent agenda, please signify by raising your right hand. And this consent agenda has been created. The consent agenda is now before us. Do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Councilor Newman. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Jackson. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by raising your right hand. All right, the consent agenda has been adopted unanimously. All right, we will now move into our regular agenda. Been a long night already, I apologize. Item number 1 is an ordinance to exempt certain covered items from the municipal sales and use tax during the third full week of July 2026, as authorized by State Code Section 4-23-210 through 4-23-213 Code of Alabama 1975 as amended, generally referred to as the back-to-school sales tax holiday legislation. This was introduced and held from our 3/3/26 meeting, and the ordinance is properly before us. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Not hearing any. All in favor of this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. And the ordinance has been adopted unanimously. Item number 2 is a resolution to accept the $500,000 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, grant number LRCMPF25-002 for sewer and street improvements in the College Heights area. Councilor Langley, will you introduce this resolution?
Yes, sir. Whereas in Resolution Book 2025-A, page 194, on July 1st, 2025, the City Council of the City of Prattville authorized the city to submit an application to ADECA for program year 2025 CDBG funds and committed to $204,235 in matching funds if said project was awarded. Whereas the City of Prattville has been awarded CDBG funds by ADECA under grant number LRCMPF25-002 to fund sewer and street improvements in the College Heights area. And whereas said grant will provide critical funding to support the improvement of the city sewer and road infrastructure, enhancing public health, environmental sustainability, and the quality of life for residents. And whereas the City Council recognizes the importance of this grant and is committed to ensuring the proper administration, compliance, and execution of the project. And whereas in Resolution Book 2025-A, page 175, on June 17, 2025, the City Council awarded RFP number 025-007 to Civil Southeast LLC for the professional engineering services related to the CDBG project. And whereas per the ADECA administrative fee schedule, said fee amount was determined to be $109,000, and said fees will be paid with 100% grant funds. Whereas in Resolution Book 2025-A, page 178, on June 17, 2025, the City Council awarded RFP number 025008 to Grant Management LLC for the professional administrative services related to the CDBG project. And whereas per the ADECA administrative fee schedule, said fee amount was determined to be $50,000, and said fees will be paid with 100% grant funds. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the city hereby accepts $500,000 CDBG grant number LRCMPF 25-002 award for sewer and street improvements in the College Heights area. Be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to carry out the intent of this resolution. So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor of this resolution signify by raising your right hand. And this resolution has been adopted unanimously. Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize the release of funds for the purchase of 2 Wright 60-inch mowers from Live Oak Outdoors LLC, doing business as Prattville Outdoors, for urban management at a cost not to exceed $25,486.40. Councilor Merrick, will you introduce this resolution?
Yes, sir. Whereas Urban Management has identified a need to purchase 2 Wright ZXL 60-inch mowers, and whereas said equipment is available from Live Oaks Outdoors LLC, doing business as Prattville Outdoors, at a cost not to exceed $12,743.20 each. And whereas this is a budgeted expense in Urban Management. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in an amount not to exceed $25,486.40 for the purchase of said equipment are hereby authorized and approved to be paid to Live Oaks Outdoors LLC, doing business as Prattville Outdoors, and said funds are approved and appropriated from fiscal year 2026 budget line item Urban Management / Capital Outlay. So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Jackson. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, not hearing none. All in favor of this item signify by raising your right hand. And this resolution passes unanimously. Item number 4 is a resolution to support Project Picker House. Councilor Newman, will you introduce this resolution?
Absolutely. Whereas the City Council and the City of Prattville works through and with Prattville Economic Development Department to attract and retain economic development projects, and whereas the City of Prattville's Economic Development Department, when necessary, calculates, reviews, recruits, and offers incentives and other assistance to businesses that are interested in locating within the City of Prattville, and whereas a recommendation has been made for support of Project Picker House for the purpose of economic development in the City of Prattville, and whereas the Picker House LLC is proposing to develop the Picker House located on South Court Street to develop a unique restaurant on historic property in the City of Prattville and Autauga County with a total square footage of approximately 2,500 and a seating capacity of approximately 100, with a total anticipated investment of $5,700,000. And whereas the Picker House LLC and the city desire for the company to rehabilitate and redevelop the property, including the establishment and opening of the Picker House development for a mutually beneficial project to increase customer traffic and additionally create an attractive environment within downtown Prattville. And whereas the City Council is presently supportive of the plan for Project Picker House and hereby expresses its intent for a development and cooperation agreement to be prepared for further consideration by the city. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Prattville supports Project Picker House and hereby authorizes the drafting of a development and cooperation agreement to be further considered by the council. So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Merritt. Is there any discussion on this item? Councilor Langley?
Do you want to go ahead, Wade? Yes, I prepared a statement here that I wanted to read to ensure that I did not misrepresent myself in any errors along the way. Council, I want to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation for the investment being made at the Picker House and for Mr. and Ms. Phillips. What they are doing is meaningful for our community. It reflects a belief in Prattville, in our downtown, and in the value of preserving and revitalizing an historic asset. That is something I fully support, and I am grateful for their willingness to invest here. I also want to be very clear that I am a strong advocate for our small businesses. They are the backbone of our downtown district and, in many cases, are owned and operated by families who live right here in Prattville. Families who have invested not only financially, but generationally into this community. Their commitment is what gives our downtown and our town its character, its charm, and its sense of identity. At the same time, I believe it is important to acknowledge that this is not a typical economic development scenario. This is not a large-scale outside recruitment effort. This is a local investment in a small-town historic district, and that distinction does matter. Because of that, I believe we have a responsibility to approach this thoughtfully, with transparency, and with an eye toward how these decisions impact the broader group of property and business owners in our downtown. My concern is not about this project specifically, but about how we move forward from here. I believe this presents us with an opportunity, not to slow down progress, but to strengthen progress. An opportunity to establish some level of framework or guiding principles on how we approach future investments in our historic district. Not rigid rules that limit flexibility, but clear, thoughtful guidelines that promote fairness, consistency, and public understanding. I also believe that we can and should pursue multiple paths at once. Supporting projects like this while also working toward programs that directly benefit a large number of small business owners, such as facade improvement grants or similar initiatives that encourage reinvestment across not only our downtown, but our entire city. This is not an either-or decision. We can do both, and we should. Ultimately, my goal is to ensure that as we continue to grow and invest in Prattville, we do so in a way that reflects the values of our community, supporting small businesses, preserving our historic character, and maintaining the trust of the citizens we serve through transparency and intentional decision-making. I feel that we need to develop some groundwork, the basement of what we can and what we are willing to do moving forward with small investments. Now, this is a large investment, but from an economic development standpoint, this is a small business investment, and I do not feel comfortable in voting for this resolution without us moving forward with creating some kind of groundwork that we can, that allows our citizens to have an understanding of how we made this decision, while it gives us the groundwork of making decisions and moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion, Councilor Newman?
So I just wanted to say this, clarify, this resolution is to begin a process of discovery. It is not a resolution that a check is written right afterwards. This is a resolution to get us to start discussions and figure out what exactly we would be doing with this particular development project. I don't see a need to stop or vote against this, since it's a exploratory or a fact-finding or an evidence-gathering process that we're just starting. There will come a time when we may have to make a decision about whether or not we support it, but that's not now. This is to start the process. That's the only thing I would like to say about this. And also, I guess that's the biggest thing I want to get out there, is that this is not a check writing resolution. This is a start to a process resolution. I've had to answer that call quite a bit today, so just want to make sure everybody knows.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, Andrew, is it possible for you to work with staff and council to develop a policy guideline for economic development incentives in our historic downtown in conjunction with this Picker House agreement? While each project is unique, we need a consistent framework to ensure fairness, equity, and transparency across the board. My request is that both the agreement and the broader guidelines be developed simultaneously so that we are not only addressing this project, but also establishing a clear standard for those that follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I can help work with staff and framing up a guideline and a process for projects such as this at the same time as drafting a development agreement. So.
I want to go on the record, though, as stating that I do not want to slow down this particular project moving forward to wait for any type of framework that we put together here, because they may not jive at the same time, and, you know, that's I want to move at the speed of business.
And that's what I'm suggesting as well. We're not trying to slow this down. We just want to know if we can work simultaneously. That's all. Thank you.
And that's what I was going to say, is respectfully, if we can create an agreement of some sort of economic incentives within a certain time frame, I certainly think that we are capable of creating a framework for moving forward alongside that. So I don't want to slow anything down either, but I definitely want to ensure that we are thoughtful and intentional in what we create and what we decide to do, because it's opening a Pandora's box in many ways, and I just feel that we owe it to our constituents, our citizens, to have some policies in regards to this situation, smaller investments within our community.
And I don't have a problem with ensuring that we are transparent in our process, which I believe we already have a transparent process associated with this. But what I don't want to do again is, you know, I want to, you know, us to be able to, I'm not meaning this in a negative way, but walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. I don't want to, we can evaluate this specific project on its merits and vote it up or down however fast that is that we need to do. But we do know sometimes that bureaucratic processes, on the other hand, can sometimes take a while. So I don't want to marry the two together is all I'm saying. Whether we vote this up or down before the policy, or not, I don't want to use the word policy, I'm going to use the word framework, because I think we need to be very careful with our economic development process. We don't need to start writing policy around it because we'll hamstring ourselves, but a framework of sorts to make sure that we are doing exactly what you say, being transparent and being fair and laying groundwork down there. I think that's very easy for us to do, but I just want to caution us to not marry the two together and say, I'm not going to vote till this is done, because that's going to slow us down on that end. We can give it a thumbs up or thumbs down based on its merit. At the same time, get something together for a framework.
Is there any other discussion? All right, not hearing anybody, hearing any more. All in favor of this resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. And any abstention? All right, and this resolution is passed. Item number 5 is a resolution to authorize a full-range structural analysis by an independent qualified structural engineer on all portions of the retaining wall system at North Highland Park. Councilor Jackson, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Whereas North Highland Park is a public recreational facility owned and maintained by the city of Prattville, and whereas in Resolution Book 2022A, page 111, on June 21st, 2022, the city of Prattville accepted ownership of North Highland Park from the Otago County Board of Education, subject to a deed restriction requiring the property to remain a public park. And whereas the retaining wall system at North Highland Park functions as a structural infrastructure by retaining soil and supporting elevation changes, and whereas questions have been raised about portions of the existing retaining wall system, and whereas the City Council desires to initiate a professional full-range structural analysis to be prepared by an independent qualified structural engineer to determine the structural stability, soundness, and safety of all portions of the retaining wall system at North Highland Park to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of those participating in activities at the park. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Prattville that a full-range structural analysis is to be performed to determine the structural stability, soundness, and safety of all portions of the retaining wall at North Highland Park. Be it further resolved that the full-range structural analysis shall be conducted by an independent qualified structural engineer licensed in the state of Alabama who has demonstrated experience with retaining wall systems. Be it further resolved that once completed, the official analysis report bearing the engineer's seal to include any recommended corrective actions, if necessary, be it made available to the City Council for further determination of action by the council. Be it further resolved that all current work taking place at North Highland Park shall be stopped upon passage and execution of this resolution until further direction can be obtained following the receipt of the full-range structural analysis. Be it further resolved that the City Council hereby authorizes Day Structures Engineering Incorporated to perform said full-range structural analysis. So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Newman. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, I have a few questions. We voted a while back to move forward this project, and Marcus, I think you had a hand in picking the engineering department that we used, and we all voted to move forward. I'm trying to really understand how we got to this point. The engineering firm that we originally used, why wasn't any of this in their scope of work, or do we even know as to the possibility of this structure being dangerous or whatever when 3 other engineers have deemed it not dangerous? So I'm just wondering why the original engineering firm who came and helped us with this project didn't put any of that in their scope of work. And also moving forward, you know, as far as using city funds for a structural engineer, what budget would you like to take those out of?
Well, I don't know. I think there's been some email correspondence for a stamped engineering assessment of the wall as to why that particular company did not do analysis of the wall. I don't know. Good question. I really don't know why they were not, because like you said, 3 engineers said it, and of course, I know it came up as to, yeah, we voted on this, but when you, as they say, when you know better, you do better. So, of course, I'm thinking, that, yeah, these civil engineers have looked at it, but now that I know civil engineers and structural engineers are totally different. So, again, now that we know better, we have to do better. We have to protect our investment. We have to protect our people. As to why that particular company did not include that in their scope of work is beyond me. I would like to know. I'm not going to say the company's name. Were they not told to do an analysis of the wall? That's what I would like to know, But why, I have no clue.
So real quick, just from a new counselor's perspective, and I've been here with a lot of this is going on, I was under the impression that an engineer had looked at this wall and deemed that the walls were good, and that's before I realized that there's a difference between a civil engineer and a structural engineer. And I think that a civil engineer can only certify something structural up to a certain height, and that wall is past, I think it's 4 feet, I could be wrong. And after that, a structural engineer has to be involved. As a new counselor looking at this, I understand there's questions. I'm not saying that any engineer did anything they weren't supposed to do. I'm not saying that Parks and Rec hasn't done a great job. I go up there and check on the progress myself, and I think the work's being done looks fine. The question comes down to this particular section of the wall or wall areas. Are they structurally sound? And if the question is, we don't know because a civil engineer said they are, which isn't enough of an accreditation, it needs to be a structural engineer that looks at it. I think we owe the city, we owe the Parks and Rec Department, all of our constituents, to give it an accurate assessment to say it's good or bad. I don't care which one it is. I'm not trying to get into the politics of it. I just want to know, is that wall structurally sound? Because if we build out the rest of this park and that wall collapses, we've just wasted a lot of money. If we go up there and say the wall is structurally sound, then we drive on and keep doing what we're supposed to be doing. But from a new counselor's perspective, who wasn't here with all this other stuff that was going on, and I applaud the mayor for what he's done so far up at the park. I applaud the park for the work they've been doing, the Parks Committee. Absolutely no issue with that. It just comes down to me now going, is it sound? Is it safe? Should we continue? And I don't know. So if I don't know, I need to know. So that's all. That's where I'm at. I don't want to mess it up. So the only way I can do that is by making sure it's good, and then we can go from there.
And I have no clue, Robert. I mean, I've read about weep holes and all that. I have no clue about any of that. So now that, I've talked to some people and looked at the wall and, I've been educated on this. So again, prior to, I had no clue until I've been educated by some structural engineers and civil engineers and some other people that there's a difference. Where we'll find the money, good question. We'll be looking to Big Bank Daniel over there, and we'll figure it out.
I would just say, if you don't mind, Daniel, we did meet on this in our meeting on Monday, and would you like to explain what you did in that meeting Monday?
Sure. So, there's several places we could pull it from. I can't imagine that the way it's listed in the resolution, I can't imagine it's going to be that expensive. I haven't seen a quote from Jeremy Day on it, but in my prior experience with paying for these things, it's just going to be a few $1,000s. So we have some avenues for some engineering and drafting type services that's housed in the engineering department. So we could pull a few $1,000s from there just to get this preliminary deal done. Now, if the results come back that we have issues with the retaining wall or retaining walls, that's a different story. I'm going to ask that you guys amend the budget, find some money from elsewhere to go fix those things, but this I'm not worried about.
Thank you.
And for the record, I just want to go on the record saying, I don't know what the result's going to be. I'm not an engineer either. But Marcus, you and I have been talking about this park and this wall for a long time, and this whole project. I just don't feel like hearing any more repercussions on this work stoppage from folks in this community come up here and say this was intentionally done, or it's being slowed down once again for a certain reason, and it's going to stop us from having certain events at that park. I don't want any of this to fall back on Parks and Recreation or the Parks and Recreation Committee. This was not created by any of us or our Parks and Rec director. So that's for the record. And if we do vote for the work stoppage, so be it. But this has nothing to do with the Parks and Recreation Department, I can assure you.
And like I told you, and I like to say for the record, because you and I have talked about this, I've told you before, I told you the other day, this is not a reflection on, and I've said it to all of y'all, this is not a reflection on Kelly and her staff. This is not a reflection on Paxton and his staff. This is not a reflection on them at all. This has nothing to do with them. So I think, like I told you, I think the public and the community will be okay knowing that we've had a structural analysis done, whatever the determination is, and they just want to make sure it's done correctly. And I think that's all that the community is going to be concerned about. We can bring up different things and rehash some things. It's no point now. It's just that we know better, we're going to do better, and we're going to make sure it's done correctly.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I guess for clarity and for the record, we hear about a wall, we hear about walls. Can we explain it for our citizens at home, because when it talks about up there, it talks about the analysis of all portions of the retaining wall system. So that means all retaining walls. Am I misunderstanding that, or is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's what it says.
So it would be all retaining walls. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion? All right, not seeing any. Is there, all in favor of this resolution signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. And any abstain? All right, and this resolution is passed. All right, this concludes our regular agenda. There's no more regular business.
Mr. President,
Excuse me. Sorry. Yes, sir.
do we want to?
That's, are you asking to,
I'm asking to bring a resolution from the floor.
okay. You have that in writing with a copy for everyone? Okay.
I have it in writing and a copy to pass out to everyone. I believe the city attorney already has a copy of it. You do not? I'm not sure what my next steps are, since it's my first resolution from the floor.
All right, so just making sure they have their copy and that we have a second to look over it. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so everyone has the copy in front of them. Counselor Newman, will you introduce this resolution?
Sure, I'd like to introduce a resolution to name the building at 124 West Main Street as the Strickland Center. Whereas the City of Prattville's purchased and is renovating the building located at 124 West Main Street, and whereas the Strickland family has provided over 85 years of combined professional and civic leadership service to the Prattville community, and whereas James Strickland served his country and was a founding chairman of the City of Prattville Industrial Development Board, and whereas James Strickland and Albert C. Strickland directed and served for many years at the former Bank of Prattville, which was previously located at 124 West Main Street, and whereas Albert C. Strickland faithfully served the Prattville City Council from 2011 to 2024 with integrity and leadership, and whereas the Strickland family has a legacy of leadership and philanthropy in the city of Prattville, and whereas the Strickland family has passed on a legacy of strength, foresight, and quiet determination, and whereas the Strickland family's commitment to service and civic investment has left a positive and lasting mark on the history and future of Prattville, and whereas naming a building in honor of the Strickland family appropriately recognizes their continuing contributions to the city, and whereas the City Council desires to honor the Strickland family legacy by naming the building located at 124 West Main Street as the Strickland Center. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council, City of Prattville, that the building located at 124 Main Street is hereby named the Strickland Center. Be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to take steps necessary to implement signage and branding consistent with this designation. So moved.
We do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Counselor Jackson. By a point of order for this resolution to be properly before us, we will need to suspend the rules. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules? So moved. Moved by Counselor Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Newman. Madam Clerk, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Newman?
Yes.
Counselor Jackson?
Yes.
Counselor Merritt? No. Counselor Stritchett? Counselor Langley? Yes. Counselor Wiley?
Yes. All right, so there is not a unanimous vote to suspend the rules. Therefore, this resolution will be on the, which, 4-7, okay. I was trying to get the date ready. So this resolution will be held until our 4/7/2026 council meeting and will be on the regular agenda.
President Whaley,
Yes, sir.
I would like to call a resolution up from the floor as well.
All right, do you have the, all right.
Ready.
All right, everybody has their copy in front of them. All right, Counselor Jackson, would you introduce this resolution?
Whereas the original historic theater was once a cultural cornerstone in downtown Prattville, where legends and many others performed, enriching the community with music and entertainment, and whereas Wilson Pickett was born in 1941 in Prattville, and whereas Wilson Pickett was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991 for his music and contributions to the Southern soul music, and whereas Wilson Pickett was recognized for many awards for his legendary hits, and whereas the stage at 124 West Main Street will serve as a vibrant hub for community events, performances, and celebrations while inspiring future generations to create new memories, and whereas the open-air stage will pay homage to the legacy and vibrant history where legends have performed, and whereas the City Council desires to honor Prattville native Wilson Pickett by naming the stage at 124 West Main Street as the Wilson Pickett Stage. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the open-air stage at 124 West Main Street is hereby named the Wilson Pickett Stage. So moved.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Newman. By point of order for this resolution to be properly before us.
Discussion?
No, sir, it's not properly before us.
Okay, I'm sorry.
By point of order for this resolution to be properly before us, we will need to suspend the rules. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Newman. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Jackson. Would you conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Newman?
Yes.
Counselor Jackson? Yes. Counselor Merrick?
No.
Counselor Whaley?
No.
Counselor Stritchett? Counselor Langley?
All right, so without a suspension of the rules, this will carry forward to our April the 7th, 2026 agenda. All right.
Okay, let's see if 3 times can be a charm here. I would like to bring a resolution up from the floor. I've got one for everyone. Thank you.
Ooh, my bad, I'm sorry. All right, does everyone have their copy? All right, Counselor Langley, would you introduce this resolution?
Yes, sir. Whereas the original historic Lyric Theater was once a cultural cornerstone in downtown Prattville, where legends and many others performed, enriching the community with music and entertainment. And whereas the outdoor gathering space at 124 West Main Street will serve as a vibrant hub for performances, community events, and celebrations, ensuring that the spirit of those performances continue to inspire future generations to create new memories. And whereas the outdoor gathering space embodies and revives the spirit of the original Lyric Theater and will pay homage to its legacy and vibrant history. And whereas the City Council desires to honor the city's artistic past by naming the outdoor space at 124 West Main Street as the Lyric. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the outdoor space at 124 West Main Street is hereby named the Lyric. So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Newman. By point of order, excuse me, for this resolution to be properly before us, we will need to suspend the rules. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Jackson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Newman. Madam Clerk, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Newman?
Yes.
Counselor Jackson? Counselor Merrick? Counselor Whaley?
Yes.
Counselor Stritchett? Counselor Langley?
All right, so without a suspension of the rules, this will carry forward to our April 7th council meeting and will be on our regular agenda. Is there any other business from the council? Not hearing any, the council welcomes comments from persons present. We'll have anyone who wishes to speak line up in the middle aisle. You'll be called upon to print your name and address. and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address the council. Please state your name and address for us, and then you may begin to speak.
Good evening. My name is Aletha Wilson, and I am the owner of property at 423 Old Farm Lane. I apologize, I didn't exactly understand when I could speak to y'all. President Whaley, members of the City Council, I respectfully request that item number 5 on the agenda be carried over for a short period of time. As you see, item 5 regards a resolution to declare the garbage and rubbish on my property located at 423 Old Farm Lane a public nuisance and authorizing Mayor Gillespie to abate the nuisance. Because of a delay in forwarding mail to my new address, which I have only been there for 2 weeks, I first learned of a problem with the property this past Friday, March the 13th, 2026. When I received my letter dated February the 23rd, 2026, from the Prattville Police Code Enforcement Officer, Chris Johnson. Mr. Johnson's letter only allowed me 10 days to do something about this problem, or until March the 6th, to correct the violation and schedule another inspection. Since March 6th had already passed when I received the letter last Friday on March the 13th, additional time is requested to bring the property into compliance. Mr. Johnson said when I talked to him on Friday when I received the letter, he could not be here to explain and tell you that I had called and tried to take care of the matter. He said that he had other things to do and could not come to the council, and he could not help me in any manner. Upon request of the letter from Mr. Johnson last Friday, immediately I attempted to contact him. And later on in the evening, he called me back. Mr. Johnson did return my call, but he was not of any assistance. And I was not able to really understand what exactly was on my property until today. And the property had been rented for several years to a man, Mr. Bobby Vogel. And I have spoken to his family. He passed away recently, and the family has not had time to clear what remains on the property. I have already contacted them and asked them to do so, but I have not heard back about the matter. But I will certainly take care of this if I'm allowed time to do it. Earlier today, I made arrangements for someone to look at it and to tell me what it entailed to try to get it cleaned up. They were on the property this afternoon before I came here. If I'm giving additional time, I will certainly take care of this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I would, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but, so we did pass consent agenda resolution number 5 to declare the garbage and rubbish a public nuisance.
Yes, sir.
And we authorized the mayor to abate and charge any incurred expenses.
Yes, sir.
So, I would contact, code enforcement or through the mayor's office tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The resolution has been adopted by the council.
Yes, sir.
But the work has not taken place yet. So therefore, if they wanted to allow you a certain number of days, code enforcement was able to work with you on that, that would be a decision they would make before putting it back in the mayor's hands to have it abated. So,
Okay.
Mayor?
Yeah, gentleman at the door, ma'am, if you'll have a conversation with him, I'd be glad to talk to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who address the council?
Hello, Council. My name is Jacob Holmes. I have never addressed you from here before. This is interesting. I had some exciting procedures today. I actually agree with a lot of the things, the resolutions that have been put on now for 2 weeks away. I think the Lyric and the Wilson Pickett stage and the Stripland Center are all great options. As far as the petition, I think there was a little bit of an issue just because, piggybacking on Councilor Newman's comments, it was kind of like an incumbent name, and the rest of the options on the petition were basically write-ins. So it had a bit of an advantage. But I don't have any direct issues with the name, The Lyric. And I have to say, I'm excited. We had a suspension of rules vote, and a couple of counselors weren't comfortable with the resolutions, and that kicks it down 2 weeks, and we get 2 more weeks of discussion. I think that's a great, proper process, so I'm excited to see that at work. I do think the lyric with the Wilson Pickett stage is a great compromise based on not just the petition, but the public input that we have received in the past. I think at the end of the day, most people aren't going to really care too much about the name, but we know that there has been some aspects of the previous name that caused some heartburn. And so I think by giving Wilson Pickett an honoration on the stage and by simplifying the name of the venue to the lyric, I think that would really satisfy most parties. I think at the end of the day, everyone can enjoy that. I do like the sound of that. So I just wanted to give my input at the podium tonight. Thanks.
Please make sure you put your name and address on the
There is no
sign-in
sheet.
sheet. I apologize for that. We thought there was a sheet there. She's with code enforcement, if we can catch her. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Adair, 106 8th Street, Prattville, Alabama, 36067. I have several comments. One is I see where you're going to be doing the sewer and street improvement in the College Heights area. Okay. The water that is running down the hill is going down behind the North Highland Memorial Community Center. And in maybe a year or more, the North Highland Community Center will be in the gutter. So that's not North Highland Community Center's water, that's the city water. It's running from up the Project Way all the way down side Martin Luther King Drive, and then turning going down behind our center. That's one comment. My next comment is the Wilson Pickett stage. I'm in favor of that, and I know several of you voted nay. But how many of you gonna enjoy the Wilson Pickett Festival this weekend? How much money is the city gonna take in off of Wilson Pickett's name this weekend? On the 28th, and then on the 27th, I think they're showing in the midnight hour. So when the midnight hour comes tonight, say your prayers and see what you'll do.
Hey, ma'am, I'd just like to point out that no one voted against the name. We voted against the suspension of the rules to hear the name tonight.
Wow.
It will be on the next agenda.
Wow, praise the Lord.
Didn't want them mad at me. Yes, sir.
Will Reeder, 1214 Upper Kingston Road. I want to speak to the matter of Mr. Woodfin presented on earlier. First and foremost, I want to thank Superintendent Woodfin and the entire central office staff on their diligence going through this process. They've been working on this for a long time, and they've been turning over I think y'all said it, turning over every stone, and they've done a lot of work on that, and he's been probably the most transparent superintendent, and at least in recent memory. So I commend him for that and his team for that. I do also want to echo Councilor Newman's comments regarding the urgency of the matter and the importance of the matter, and it is a generational decision. It is a very pertinent decision, and it's, to be fair, I think it's probably the most important decision that you as a council will make in your terms. It will have a lasting impact that will last decades and decades, if not more than that. So my comments towards y'all towards that is to evaluate unbiasedly every option that's placed before you. There's a lot of discussion on the matter, and I think the comment was made that it would blow up some discussion on this, and I think that's quite an understatement. I think we've all seen the City Watch page, and I think you all will see some comments there. So there are pros and cons to each one of these options. I would encourage you just to consider those fairly, and to not throw something out because it's not what was initially discussed or not what was initially placed before y'all. Speaking to the specific plan that Superintendent Woodfin put forward, I'm a school bus driver. My route is on Old Red Road. It is a traffic issue. But just because it is an issue doesn't mean that it is not something that can be addressed and compensated for. And obviously, it's going to take a lot of coordination between different entities, both at the city and the county and grants and all the things that go into that. And so I'd urge you to take these matters seriously and urgently to make the most meaningful impact, not just for our kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. It's not just for their future, but it's for the entire community. It's for the development of economics, the development of the workforce, all of the different pieces that come into play regarding a school system. We've talked about Maxwell, we've talked about Gunner Air Force Base. The school system is pertinent. I've been a resident of Ottawa County for about 20 years now. In that 20 years, there's been a definitive shift of some of these surrounding municipalities, and I think someone said it earlier. It used to be Prattville used to be the powerhouse. People say, "Hey, you're moving to the Montgomery area. You're going to work in Montgomery. Go live in Prattville because that's the preferred community, right?" There's some of these other municipalities that are starting to ease forward, and we want to hold that title of preferred community. Education is the foundation of keeping that title. So I'd encourage you to take that seriously, and I know y'all will. But I just wanted to go on record, come in support of Superintendent Woodfin, or if the city school system is feasible and manageable, and maybe that's the route that needs to go. But each one of these aspects need to be evaluated clearly and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would address the council? If not, at this time, we'll move into our closing comments. Mr. Mayor? No. Councilor Newman?
No, sir.
Councilor Jackson?
Again, I think Kelly's here. I know I've reached out to her the other day, but we just want to let her know that we're thinking about her. She's in our prayers. Also, I just want us to say a prayer for Wilson's brother, Maxwell Pickett. He reached out to me the other day. Over the weekend, he's been in the hospital. He had a stroke. So I talked to him Sunday, and that is one of the reasons why I really wanted to bring forth this Wilson Pickett resolution tonight, just because I know how much this means to him and his family, considering his age and his health right now. And like I said, talking to him, he was in good spirits. He was still in the hospital on Sunday when I talked to him, and he's at home now recovering from the stroke. But just want to keep him and Kelly and her family in our prayers.
Councilor Merritt?
Continued prayers. A prayer to Mr. Maxwell Pickett. Marcus, thank you for sharing that. He's a good man. I've gotten to know him for the last couple of years. Kelly, continued prayers to you, dear. Happy St. Patty's Day. I'm glad to see some of y'all that wore green, and some of y'all that didn't. Well, you probably paid the price for that. And if you hadn't, you will pay the price if I see it. But got mine on, and proud to be on the Irish side of my father, John Merrick. So happy St. Patty's Day. Be safe. Thank you for being here as always.
Yeah, being 1/8 Irish. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and drink something green when you get out of here if you can. Also like to thank everybody for showing up for opening day ceremony for the first pitch. I think it's been a while since we had the entire council show up for first pitch, and it was a beautiful day. I just want to let everybody know that the 11 and 12-year-old Pirates did go 2-0 on Saturday. Probably has something to do with leadership and fundamentals, but that's to be debated. But thank you.
All right, Councilor Langley.
Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I got an alternate on Saturday to throw my pitch. Sweet little Chandler Adams, his parents own, what are they on, the Soda Jerk down here. And he did a great job for me, and it was a lot of fun. My first one, and it was great. So thank you, guys.
All right. Excuse me. Our next regularly scheduled council meeting is Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? All right, do we have a second? All in favor, get up, and if you're opposed, stay here.